Before you have real conscious cognitive capacity, your body, your nervous system takes on, it's like, oh, it's not safe to be on Earth because I'm not going to get the love that I need.
Drop in,
unwind,
and recalibrate
as we shift your mentality and your reality.
Let's elevate alongside one another as we keep the vibes high
and we keep the consciousness ever evolving in this collective of high vibrational frequencies.
Welcome to the High Vibe Collective podcast. We're your hosts,
Aaron
and Stephanie.
Welcome to the High Vibe Collective podcast. Today we have the lovely Brad Zayac. He's a multimodality practitioner, best known in Sedona for his human design work, energy work, and massage. He's one of the lead practitioners with High Vibe Collective. So we're honored to have you today, Brad.
It's an honor to be here, Aaron. I'm excited to dive in.
Lovely. Well, can you share a little bit about your work with human design?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great place to start because a lot of people are really becoming more aware of this now and seeing how it can help them enter into a place of ease and clarity within themselves in being able to navigate the world and all of its colorfulness, right? All of the crazy weather we experience, and be able to navigate that and respond to it from a place of ease, of centeredness, of groundedness, where we can really, really see our place in the world. And this goes all the way from feeling a sense of purpose, a sense of the ability to relate and connect with people, to feeling really abundant, and as well as creating material wealth is a big part of it as well. And how we can accomplish all those things without sacrifice or without hiding or holding back anything, but actually being able to continuously expand into more and more of what feels right, and more of what feels true and honest about yourself. So it's something that people are really interested in, and I'm blessed to be able to share that with people here in Sedona with High Vibe and otherwise.
Beautiful, beautiful. So a lot of people know of astrology, and potentially less people know or have an understanding of what human design is in general and how it works. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So like astrology, human design uses your birth information to generate a chart that has to do with what is it that makes you unique? Like what is it that is very specific and particular about who you are and how you work? Now, where it departs from astrology is that it's much more focused on the sort of mechanical movement of energy, of sensation and awareness. So for instance, in human design system, we understand that there's actually 9 body centers rather than the sort of traditional 7. And what the 9 centers do is this has to do with a transition that the human species is going through, a sort of evolutionary process where we're evolving, we're expanding, and we're growing. And where now it's different than it used to be. Now it's much more about utilizing our intuition, utilizing what they call in human design your inner authority, like that place inside of yourself that you experience through your body that you can trust and rely on to give you accurate information about what's true for you. So for instance, a lot of people, 70% of the population will have what's called an open heart center. And, that's beautiful. And it sounds really lovely. And it's a town like Sedona. It's like, wow, open heart center. But this is a little bit different than the sort of traditional sort of 7 center heart center. This actually has to do with the physical anatomical heart. And within human design, it's the house of self-esteem and ego. And so people having that open, for instance, will have a tendency or a proclivity. Like their mind will be trying to get them to prove that they are worthy, right? They'll be looking for money or stuff or status in order to prove that they have some kind of value. But the real solution to that is not to get the stuff, as we know. It's not even to write a bunch of affirmations saying, I am worthy, because your body doesn't believe that. And it doesn't need to. That's the point that I share with people. It's like, so you don't feel worthy? Who cares? Right? Why does that matter? go and live your life, express the love that you are anyway. And then that voice that's saying that will eventually just go away. And you'll just feel the radiance and the love that you really are at the core, that we all are. So basically, just because, and what I tell people a lot is like, just be, you're born, so you deserve love. Period. End of story. There doesn't need to be any conditions on it at all. And so this is an example of some of the things that I have received from human design and I love to share with people. And so we can look at individuality, and it ranges all over the place, from relating, abundance, purpose, awareness, consciousness, opening up your spiritual abilities and your intuitive senses. We can do all of that with human design and with everything that I do. Yeah.
Is there anyone that human design wouldn't benefit?
It's not for people who are not interested in it.
Right.
I'm not interested in preaching anything. I'm not interested in convincing anything of anyone. I'm not here to sell anything. It's like, for me, it works, right? It has worked. I've seen it work for my clients and, thousands of people at this point in different forms. And I don't need to sell anyone on it. So if you're, resistant, then great. More power to you. But for the people who are interested, it can be very, very, bam, slamming that accelerated pedal to the floor and really opening things up quickly.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I've heard and witnessed many guests work with you and have these epiphanies and these realizations, and it's like their head's on differently afterwards. Like they're feeling themselves differently. They're looking at everything differently. Yeah. So do you perceive any theme with your clients after they've had a session or two with you based in human design?
That's, that's a really good question, because there is a thing that I hear very consistently and very regularly, where people will finish a session and they'll say wow, that was really confirming, right? That just confirmed a lot. And it really affirmed a lot. Because I think we know this, we know who we are. It's the thing about human design is that it's not a belief system. It's mechanical. And when I practice it, I'm not using my head to do it necessarily. I mean, I've studied, I've researched, I've done all that, been there, done that. But when I'm with someone one-on-one or in a group setting, I'm literally tuning in and sensing where they're at, what's going on with them. And sure, I have their human design chart sometimes. Sometimes I'm just doing body work and I'm just feeling what's going on with them. And we're kind of going on an energetic journey together. But what we're doing is really just shedding all this stuff that is not you, right? All the identities, beliefs, and judgments that you've taken on throughout your life, right? So for instance, your parents didn't love you enough as a child, they didn't give you enough physical attention or something, and then you take that personally, and then you, as a young one, before you have real conscious cognitive capacity, your body, your nervous system takes on, it's like, oh, it's not safe to be on earth because I'm not going to get the love that I need, right? And I'm sure a lot of people feel that right now, right? So we'll take a breath with that. If that's true for you, let's just start to be okay with it. And we can use a breath. Again, I use a lot with the breath, right? To give people these very practical tools to integrate things as well. Not just know that you are love and light, but actually to experience and to be and breathe yourself as love and light. So yeah, they feel that confirmation. They feel that, reaffirming that, oh yeah, it's okay to be me, right? It's okay to be myself. And there's a lot of people out there that say this and that, but really it is okay.
That's a relief.
I think you're even feeling that right now.
It's a relief. Yeah, that speaks to me deeply. At this point along my journey, there's less concern around whether I'm worthy or if I can be me, but in the beginning of realizing that I felt that way, it was profound to have the reflection from others like yourself saying, look, you can actually just forget all of that and just be.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes things easier.
And it helps us, another thing that human design is doing, and just tuning in and being present, helps us really get to the specifics of what does it look like for you to just be. Yourself as a 6'2", manifesting generator, emotionally defined. It's like, that busyness of staying in it, staying engaged, doing what lights you up. You're here to be busy and moving, right? That's kind of, your thing, right? To be busy with this and busy with that, have a nice business to run, all this fun stuff. And it's great that not everyone has that in their chart, right? Not everyone is here to be busy all the time. Myself, for me, it's more about spaciousness, especially right now. We go through seasons and cycles. And it's nice just to be like, oh, I don't have to be one way all the time. I don't have to be this way or that way. I can literally just tune in and be like, you know what? Whew, all that aside, what am I really wanting, right? What does success mean to me, right? What does abundance really mean to me? Do I even need tons of money to experience abundance, or is abundance more about just having the space and freedom within my schedule to do what I like when I like to do it? And it's like, maybe it doesn't take as much as I think it does to experience that true level of abundance or connection or intimacy, whatever it is. Whatever we're looking for, it's always a feeling state. And when we can get really clear on how we work and how the world works, we can more efficiently move through our feeling states and get to those places that we really want to soak up, right, and receive fully.
Wow. Sounds like a very encompassing tool to really address any part of someone's life.
Exactly. It's a complete system. Goes from from the dailies, like how to make decisions, to how to perceive reality, there's even a cosmology and a history and food and diet and environment and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty vast, and luckily, with my approach to it, because it is sort of intuitive, right? And I'm responding to you, and I've done, spent a lot of time with standing meditation and Taoist practices, and also with my hands-on bodies. I'm very familiar with how the body works and how the body goes through processes. So, for instance, a lot of people perhaps watching this will be going through awakenings and be feeling whatever it is, really uncomfortable in their bodies. Maybe there's got new symptoms arising. Maybe they're experiencing new levels of anxiety, depression, or dislocation. All of these things are a part of the process. And again, I've been there, done that with all of it. But it's all a part of the process. And so a lot of what I tell people too is that, as we're going through awakenings, as we're raising our frequency, and literally in megahertz of light, as the cells of our body are speeding up, that it's going to vibrate out all of that density, all of that stuckness, and you're going to experience it as it's leaving, right? So you're going to experience the pain. You're going to experience the deep loneliness. You're going to experience the challenge, right? The struggle, the stuckness, the resistance. And you're experiencing all of that so that you can move through it, so that you can continue to navigate through life and choose to be a part of it, and choose to keep going, and choose to let things go and move and reconnect with that deeper part of yourself that is absolutely, totally, thoroughly beyond all that, and animating all the way through the body in your specific life this time around.
It sounds profound, and I've experienced the profoundness of it from you, and I've again witnessed many people just be different afterwards.
That's the idea, is we're not just, and especially with human design, it's really easy to get into, and in spirituality in general, to regurgitate spiritual ideas and thoughts of like, oh yeah, we're all one, right? So, well, yeah, who cares, right? Big deal, right? Yeah, no, or duh, we could say. Right? But when it comes to right here, right now, what is the specific wording or energy of right here, right now that's going to help us tap back into that feeling of being connected and being a conduit of divine light and divine energy? And how do we, in this right here, right now moment, specifically get back there? And so that's Yeah, and so we do that by, so what we're fundamentally doing in a session, and whether it's energy work, whether it's body work, is I'm guiding you into an experience of yourself. So the concepts can help, the theories can help, but it's really about the experience and the receiving that happens when we're able to relax, able to open up, decompress, and really receive the light and love that we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there a difference between how you approach human design with your clients versus how other, facilitators of human design would approach?
Everyone's unique, and that's kind of the beauty of it. That you're never going to, and this is what I tell people, it's like, oh, well, I've already had a human design reading. Well, I was like, well, it's different analysts or interpreters of human design or practitioners will see different things within the chart, right? So they'll all say the same basic thing, like, okay, here's your type, here's your authority, yada, yada, yada. But as far as when they start to do more of the synthesis of like, oh, well, it's really interesting that you have this split here and you have this open center here, it's kind of pointing at that your life might, go in this direction. And so, and even, if you come and get multiple readings from me, I can literally talk about a chart for hours and hours and hours and hours. And what I say is not coming from the chart, it's coming from you, right? So what I tell people is I can read charts, and I did read charts, but it kind of got boring after a while. And more what I'm interested in now is reading people. And I have the chart there to help with the language as far as what words to use. But more what I'm doing is I'm kind of tuning in, and it's fun because, especially these days, because I'll tune in and I'll feel, and then I start to, within my mind's eye, I see this sort of, it kind of looks like cymatics and fractalized energy. And when I'm just looking at that with my mind's eye, well, we're right here together right now. And it's what I'm doing right now as I'm speaking to even feel into or tune into what words to describe the sort of organization of it, the linearity of it, and the specificity of it. And then the language is there, it's deep in my subconscious, so I can draw on that and use that as a tool. So it's kind of like, fundamentally, I start with human design. I talk about human design a lot because that's what people seem to be interested in. But we got to remember that the human design system is a bridge, right? It's a bridge to the actual experience of yourself, the experience of what life is like to be a human. Now, if you think about it, if we zoom all the way out, all the way out, it's just emptiness with particles of light, right? Like stars, right? You can see particles of light. If we zoom all the way out. But if we zoom all the way in, and we go right to the atom level, it's still just, the proton and the electron are very, very far away from each other. So it's still just particles of light in space. That's what we are. At the micro, at the macro, everywhere in between, particles of light in space. And technically black holes, but that's another thing. But so when we understand that, and you start to think about all of creation and what creation is wanting, it's coming into form, it's coming into physicality to play with density, to play with polarities, to play with all the feelings, right? Like how amazing it is to feel that, even for us to just look at this beautiful view out in Sedona and to feel our hearts open to that, or to feel the devastation of big changes in your life. It's like all of those experiences, all of those feelings, whether you are out of losing a relationship, whether you're had a big change in your financial situation, whether you are really feeling disconnected from life itself, that all of those feeling states, all of those energies are part of the process. And when we really embrace the sort of vastness of the human experience, we start to really settle into it, embrace it, and welcome it, because we're not fighting it anymore. It's like, oh, I don't want to feel that way, so I'm going to try and push it away. But when we just like, well, actually all feelings are really, really incredible when we don't have a thought about it.
They're incredible, huh? Wow. So it makes me wonder what you think about the concept of good and bad or right and wrong, because
Right.
when you say all emotions are incredible,
Right.
what comes to mind is that all emotions are a deep experience that can be felt. But a lot of the times we might have associations like that it's not good, not right, or bad to fully feel those hard ones.
Yeah, and I want to start this by honoring what everyone is really feeling, right? And this is the tricky thing about spirituality is a lot of people get into spiritual bypass land and they're like, oh, it's all love and light, you're suffering. And I know both you and Stephanie had a very challenging experience recently, and you probably experienced people like, oh, it's all love and light. And you're like, no, you know? And because you know that that's not coming from a real place in them. But to acknowledge that, yes, there is tremendous suffering in this world. Yes, people are really going through it. And that's okay, right? It's okay. Like, you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have it all figured out even. That all of it is okay. And what we're doing here is when all of it is okay, it's not that we're going to let terrible things happen in front of us. No, when we're really letting ourselves come through, there will be those times when you stand up for what is right. Right? You stand up for what you want to be creating, or what we want to be creating as a collective, as a humanity. And he's like, you know what? That behavior that is going on is not in alignment. And this goes to all the protests and all that stuff. What's happening there is like, you know what? This behavior is really not in alignment with where we want to be going. And it's not that it's good or bad. It's just not what we want to be doing anymore. And I'm going to stand up and say something about it. And at the same time, it lets us really have permission to break down our walls and our barriers on, it's like, I will allow myself to feel happy, but I won't allow myself to feel heavy. And that tension of like, I won't allow myself to go there, ironically, you're actually magnetizing it. Manifesting it, because when you have something you really, 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 really hate, or something you really, 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 really like, you're actually creating a distortion within your field from your naturalness. And this is laid out really well in my book as well, where I break it all down as far as how this all works. And these polarizations, or I call them rigid mental states, it gets in the way of you just being here and receiving life, of being in a body. You came into a body to grow, right? To filter consciousness, to take all the flowing energy that's going through our world all the time and run it through your individual lens. And that happens through your feelings, right? It happens through your thoughts. All of it is welcome. And when we stop pushing this away or clinging on to this, everything can flow, and we can be in the world without being run by it, without being controlled by it.
That sounds good.
It's amazing, yeah. And there's levels of it too, and it goes on for infinity, right? So, you know, we have many people who are watching this who are already at a certain level of awakening, and it's like, you know, there's only infinite to go, you know. There's no end goal. There's no like enlightenment. There's just that time when you stop really even caring about trying to get anywhere, right? And that's you know, and that's when you are flowing through and you are expanding and brightening up as you go along.
It sounds like be here now.
Yeah.
The feeling that you're having, be in the feeling, instead of labeling it as bad and avoiding it and accidentally magnetizing its effect.
Yeah. And a big part of what helps with being is also recognizing and acknowledging. Because I did this in my own process, and I see this a lot with spiritual people when they're like, oh, nothing's good or bad. They can kind of dissociate or lose touch. So what we want to be doing is, to understanding nothing's good or bad, we still want to generate a strong interest in life and what we are experiencing. So we tune in to, like, what is it that's really going on here? it's not that it's good or bad, but what is it, right? Like, what is the truth? Like, what am I actually feeling? People are like, I think that I'm really upset about losing this relationship, but if I exhale, if I breathe, I'm like, you know what? Show me how I really feel. It's like, actually, it's a bit of a relief, because that was a tricky thing, you know? And I'm really I didn't even want it. And it went away, and it's like, I think I should be sad about it, but actually I'm really stoked. And that's when you start to connect with how your body is filtering your life. So, it helps us get into the body further and open up our intuitive capacity and our senses, and really just makes it a grand old time to be here, no matter what's going on.
Yeah. So if someone is relatively new to human design, but they're intrigued, they're ready to dive in, do you have any recommendations? Should they just look things up online? What do you think?
The best thing to start off is to get a one-on-one reading with someone like myself, but it could be anyone that you feel called to work with, because they're going to be able to give you, in human design, they call it the initiation, right? Like where you get, because it's not just about having the right concepts. It's about having that experience of authenticity. Like, what is it like? And this, I remember some of my first readings. It was really interesting just to be present with these people that were just human, right? They weren't doing a thing. They weren't trying to be this or trying to be that. They were just, hey, yeah, I'm here. And you feel their individuality. You feel like they're very there, but it's kind of like hard to put your finger on it. Because it's not so, we're used to people being like, oh, I am a this, I am a that. But when you get into the human design world, it's more like, well, I don't know what I'll be tomorrow, right? and it's a big part of the process is becoming okay. It's like, oh, I literally have no idea how I will feel about this tomorrow. And that's great. And I don't need to know, because I know what I can trust to guide me when things do show up. So I trust my ability to be able to navigate literally anything that could ever show up in my life. And I mean, human design was a big part of that, but also a lot of different meditation modalities as well. And Taoism was really the primary. But yeah, so for someone looking to get into human design, start off with a reading, and then what I do with people is I ask them, like, are you even really interested in this? Because I get a lot of people who come to me for human design reading, but then, we start talking about their life, and it's like they didn't really need human design. They don't need to keep going with human design. They just wanted someone to just be present with them and to love them and to offer them some reflection and guidance, which human design can be a great tool for that. But it's not that you need to go and study it and become certified and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So what led you into not only human design, because that's just one aspect of your journey, but what got you to this place now where you're able to work with people in this way, serve them in a beneficial way, and be generally at peace with who you are?
Well, a lot of crisis and pain, a lot of life experiences. I've gone through all sorts of fun stuff. Spent a lot of time traveling, did this and that, but really it was about getting really, really honest and being really, really willing to let go and to try new things until finding those things that actually work, and being able to trust what works and that life can work. Right? That if you're running up into all this resistance and all this walls, it's not that you need to quit right away. It's that there's some kind of thinking pattern that brought you to that that's really beneficial for you to pay attention to. And this examination of the thinking patterns that drive our behavior and seeking to just eliminate those and start to live from this place beyond belief. And this is something that I want to introduce to people, is you actually don't need to believe anything in order to live a full human life. You don't need to have an opinion about anything. You don't need to like or dislike anything. If it happens, great, whatever. but it's not necessary for your growth or evolution or success on the material plane. All that is just awareness. It's just a feedback cycle of being aware of what you're experiencing and refining how you show up, right? And then from there, it kind of grows and builds.
Wow. Wonderful. So can you share with us about your book and why you wrote it and why someone would read it?
Absolutely. That's a great question.
Yeah. Oh, please. Thank you. Great.
We have it right here just so you can take a peek.
Yes. The original you.
The original you. It's nice and compact, and I did that on purpose. I was sharing with Aaron and Stephanie here that this is very much. I wanted to write this one because it was recommended to me by a mentor of mine and by one of the facilitators I work with and receive from. He was saying that it was something presenting for me, and I was like, oh, that's curious. And so I started on that journey, and I found it. What I really, really wanted to share with people. It helped me hone in on that. That was a great thing about writing is it helped me really get clear on this sort of unifying principle. And we've spoken about it today where, whether it's human design, whether it's body work, whether it's energy work, whether I'm just having a conversation with a friend, that all of it comes back to your originality, we'll say. And it's not that we're not trying to make originality into a thing, but it's just this word that I use to point at the fact that you are already pristine, divine, and being, and you get to show up on Earth to see what that looks like this time around, and to watch it grow and change and evolve.
You make it sound easy and fun.
And this is where it leads us. Is like, okay, if we're not here to prove anything to anyone, if we're not here to seek out pleasureful experience or to experience the highest bliss states possible, and if we're not here to become the most intelligent beings on the world, what are we here for? It is to enjoy ourselves. It's a big part of awakening, and it's a big part of life. Is like, oh, do you actually enjoy what you're doing? Right? Like those moments of fun. And, it's not that you have to like every single moment, but it's that we're stepping into levels of our light beingness, basically, like letting all the levels of your being shine through, to be able to start to take a step back and to see your thoughts, to see why you do what you do, really. Like, why is it that you went that way? Why is it that you went this way? And when we start to look at that and refine it, we move from things like, oh, well, I'm doing this because it's what my parents did. I'm doing it because it's what's expected of me. Or it's doing it because I am a this, because I am a that. Those are all mental concepts, rigid belief structures. So when we throw those away, it's like, okay, I want to be doing things. I'm doing this because I want to, because I enjoy it, because it feels good, right? Because it feels right, because it's the right thing to do, right? It's in alignment with who I am. And those decisions and those actions help us navigate to a practical, physical, daily life that allows us to be at ease and allows us to open up. So it's a range from, the book is a range from really energetic approaches, different perspectives on consciousness and your body and how to work with it, and how to work with your guidance realms as well, your spirit guides, source consciousness, whatever you want to call it, and all of the above, like all levels of it. But also very practical sort of how to bring this into your life and work with manifestation and all sorts of different tips and tricks for anyone interested in a more sort of energetic view of the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so it's called The Original You, and it says, Heart and Mind Mastery for Creating an Abundant Life. Well, I'm sold on it already.
It's like an infomercial. It's like, wow, what an amazing book.
An abundant life, and I can come back to the original me. That sounds like what I want to do in this world, right? So where can they find your book? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, I mean, bradzayac.com is my website. You'll find a link to the book there. It's also on Amazon. It's pretty fresh, so you probably want to search my name on Amazon, Brad Zayac, Zayac, or just go right to my website. You'll get a link right there. So yeah, and then you can find a link to all my services and everything as well there too.
Awesome. Great. And you offer human design, obviously you do massage and energy work, different types of body work, and you do that in Sedona, but you also offer human design online, correct?
Exactly. We can do a lot of my services remotely. And actually just recently, just within this past week, I released a whole slew of new offerings,
Awesome.
which is really cool. So a bunch of different talk sessions, things that are really focused on like decisions or focused on manifestation or relationships or purpose. We've got specific offerings, and also just I have things where you can come with anything. I'm open. Like, you can ask me anything about anything, and we'll go with it. So yeah, online remote services available, and also in person here in Sedona, and all sorts of fun stuff.
Beautiful. And so can you state your website URL and your Instagram handle for us?
Sure. Yeah. BradZayac.com. That's my name. BradZayac.com. And then you can search that to find me on socials. Or Spirit Cartographer is my handle. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. So yeah.
Wonderful. It's been really nice having you today, Brad.
Yeah.
There's more to come, so much to hear from you. Like you said, we could spend hours just going through it all. And if you feel called to work with Brad, definitely reach out to us or him and move forward with that. There's a lot of medicine there.
I appreciate it, Aaron. It's been such a pleasure to get to have this experience together and get to share and connect and spread the good word.
Awesome. We'll see you guys on the next one.